Danny Gonzales was hired as Arizona State's new defensive coordinator in December following 7 seasons with the San Diego State Aztecs. He coaches safeties up until 2017 when he was promoted to defensive coordinator. Devil's Digest caught up with Gonzales following the program's National Signing Day press conference on Wednesday. Devil's Digest: what's the process like when you're evaluating your new players to fit them into a new scheme? The 3-3-5. Danny Gonzales: you want to see what talents they have, what you can expose those guys best at. We've got a guy like linebacker Coron Crump, who, 2 years ago, opposing teams couldn't block off the edge, so we've got to do things within our scheme to give him opportunities to make those kinds of plays. See what we've got in the secondary. Do we have guys that can play man coverage, or do we need to be more predominantly zone because we can't cover anybody? Those are the kinds of things that we need to evaluate, and then we decide, okay, do we need 4 linebackers out there because that's our best players? Or is it 3 linebackers and 5 defensive backs? You've just got to decide what gives you the best opportunity to win with the guys that you have on campus. And then, as Coach Herm Edwards talked about, our DNA, we'll build it to what we want to do. But to be successful, you've got to give your guys a chance. DD. When Herm Edwards was hired, he said he saw a couple things that were lacking on defense. What do you think about this defense and what it did last year? DG. Without being around players, through spring ball and not knowing who they are personally, it's hard to evaluate them. It's not truly fair because some guys are just different. They react and respond differently to different coaches. I thought former defensive coordinator Bill Bennett did a great job. The improvement they made last year in his first year was phenomenal. That gave us a base to build on. And now we evaluate and keep going. DD. At San Diego State, it seemed your linebackers and defensive backs were very instinctual. Is that something you can coach, or is it in recruiting the right players? DG. I think that's part of the DNA. I think that's in the guys you recruit. You recruit good football players that react well, and we give them a little bit more freedom than most people do to react and play. But like I said when I took the job, we're not a gap control scheme. We're going to cancel gaps with movement and blitzes and stunts. So it gives those guys a little bit of freedom. You have to find the right guys that don't make mistakes, and then you have a chance to be successful. DD. What did you learn from SDSU head coach Rocky Long? DG. Everything. I think he is the best defensive mind in college football. And everything I know from this game, schematic-wise, I've been around some great football coaches. I think he's taught me a lot that every situation, you treat it different. Figure out who you have and what you've got, and decide how you're going to give them the best opportunity to be great. The best way to be a good coach is to recruit good players, because we don't make any tackles, we don't make any interceptions, the players do. So if you have good ones, you can be a really good coach. DD. What was something you learned from Long that caught you by surprise when you first started coaching? DG. His demeanor. If you watch him on the sidelines on Saturday, you don't know if things are going good or bad. Doesn't matter. I think that feeds into the players. You can be positive with them and get them excited, but when things go bad, if you don't overreact, they don't. It gives you an opportunity to calm them down on the sidelines so you can fix it instead of being too emotional and not being able to fix those things. DD. I know you were the defensive coordinator at SDSU. So you focused on stopping ASU's offense. But when you guys traveled to Sun Devil Stadium last September, did you notice anything about ASU's defense? DG. I know they were very talented. They had a lot of very talented kids that were big up front on the D-line. They look how you want them to look. It's hard to get ready for an opponent that you're not familiar with, and we hadn't played against Arizona State, and they hadn't gone against San Diego State in the brand of football that we played on the fence. So it's different, and it's hard to prepare for in practice. So I think that the fact that we had really good players there at San Diego State, and the Sun Devils, weren't prepared for it, just because it's hard to prepare for, I think it gave us, the Aztecs, a little bit of an advantage, and we had a good night. DD. You guys had a lot of senior leadership on that SDSU defense. Is that something you think you can tap into with this ASU defense with Coron Crump and other experienced guys? DG. The deal that made that special at SDSU is that those guys had been in the system for so long. That helped. If the seniors at ASU buy into what we're doing, it'll be great, because those are the guys that lead the team. It'll be a great deal. That's the focus right now, to get those guys to be leaders and buy into what we're doing. DD. Is getting players to buy in difficult because of the transition and coaching turnover? DG, because they've had success around here, it shouldn't be. They've been to bowl games, they've won 7 games last year, finished second in the Pac-12 South. So there's enough talent here to be successful. When you're coming into a program that hasn't won and they're looking for a complete culture change and shock, that's really hard because you're doing things different than they've done before. It's not that drastic here. We're changing the culture because the culture is going to fit who these coaches are, but we're not going from ground zero. So it's a different process than if you were going to a team that had struggled for a long time. DD. This program in recent years has had some tackling issues. How do you become a good tackling football team? DG, we're going to do some stuff, year-round tackling. We've got some drills now that you can do without pads that will make us better tacklers. Coach Edwards is a big fundamentals guy, which is good because we did that at practice every day at San Diego State. I think that stuff helps. And then once again, you have to get good players. DD, what kind of stuff did you do at SDSU to improve tackling? DG, every day, we started off with 10 minutes of fundamentals, tackling, backpedaling, stuff that you take advantage of and take for granted. And Coach Edwards is of the same mode. It's the simple things of the game that make you a better player. We'll do them every day here. DD, if you could sum up in a couple sentences what your brand of defense would be here, what would that be? DG, I think the thing you're going to see the best is they're going to play hard. We're going coach effort harder than we're going to coach anything around here because if you play hard and you give them a chance schematically, good things happen. You're around the ball and turnovers happen because you're mean, nasty, physical. So we're going to get them to play hard. We're going to give them a chance to win schematically, and if we get players